All right, welcome to another video. If you're new here, my name is Patrick and I'm an amateur photographer and sometimes vlogger. And if you're not new here, you might notice a change in my set. I was finding that my office was getting a little crowded and I was having some trouble recording some of the things that I wanted to do. So I set up a little studio. We'll see how it goes. All right, so today I want to talk to you about what's in my camera bag. I do a lot of street photography these days, but I still do a lot of landscapes and seascapes, and I thought it'd be interesting to share with you the kit that I put together to do that sort of stuff. So let's jump into it. First off, let's start with everybody's favorite, the bag. You'll be unsurprised to find out that I use a Peak Design bag. If you've seen my other videos, you know that I love Peak Design, so I use a lot of their equipment, as do many other photographers. I'm not going to get into this bag in significant detail. If you're interested in it, you can find lots of reviews about it online, so I won't do that. Needless to say that I still use the version 1 of the 20-liter bag. I think that if I had to buy a new bag, I'd probably go with the 30-liter size just to give myself a little bit more room, but I've been very happy with this bag. I've had it for several years. It's still in really great condition and it still does the job for me really, really well. Okay, let's jump into the equipment and let's talk about cameras first. I, for the most part, am a Sony shooter, and my current main for landscapes is the A7R III. I upgraded this to the A7R III from the A7R II last year before the A7R IV came out. At the time, I didn't think I really needed to upgrade. I was happy with the A7R II. It was still doing the job for me. But when I upgraded to the A7R III, the dynamic range of this camera was just amazing. I still do a lot of bracketing of sunset shots and things like that so that I can get the foreground and the sky exposed properly. But I find I have to do that much less with the A7R III. So I'm really, really happy with this camera. I also use an L bracket, if you can see it kind of on here on this camera. This allows me to change from the landscape orientation to the portrait orientation really easy without having to worry about the camera kind of tipping over because I'm moving the ball head or anything like that. So this is certainly something that I carry with me all the time. One kind of catch with the A7R III and the L bracket is it does have some side panels here for power and other access, the USB connectors here, so you don't get a little connection here on the L bracket, which means that you only have kind of that top part that actually connects. So you have to be really, really careful when you're putting that on your tripod so that you don't accidentally miss it and then drop your camera. So that's the camera. Next, we'll talk about lenses. My main lens is the 16 to 35 millimeter Zeiss f4.0. This I use for 80 to 90% of my landscape shots. It does a really good job. There are the f2.8 lenses, the G Master lenses that Sony makes, but I find that for the most of the time I'm shooting f8, f11 for landscape shots, so having that f2.8 aperture isn't really something that's important for me, so I don't really get it. And also, that's a much larger lens, much heavier lens, so I'm happier to have kind of a smaller, more compact form with me. It does a great job, and like I said, probably does maybe like 80 to 90% of my shots. Next, lens that I carry with me is the 24 to 70 f4.0. This is also the Zeiss lens. I don't use this a whole lot because like I'm shooting landscapes and I'm trying to get everything in the picture. So 24 to 70, maybe if I'm carrying it around, if I've got around my neck or something like that and I'm walking around taking shots, I'll carry this with me. But for the most part, it's the 16 to 35. And then next, filling out kind of the camera trifecta, holy trinity of lenses is the 70 to 200. This is also the Sony G 70 to 200 f4.0 lens. Again, also something that I don't shoot a ton with. I will from time to time if I'm trying to really zoom in and crop in on something that's really specific in the scene. I'll use this lens. Or if I'm like taking a panorama shot of the scene, I'll use this and zoom in a little bit so I can get like the highest resolution slices, and then I'll stitch it together in Lightroom or something like that. In fact, I did that the other day. But for the most part, don't use it a whole lot. Still using that 16 to 35 lens. Let's see, what else have I got in the camera bag here? So I carry with me this Peak Design tech pouch. Again, hey, Peak Design, surprise, surprise. This is something that I put all of the like little odds and ends, bobs and whistles and things like that. So what I do actually is I have a little Peak Design slide light strap inside, and then I connect it to the little Peak Design latches here, and then I wrap this around me over like a sling almost, and then I open it up, and that allows me to get into my stuff and things like that, and I don't have to worry about kind of bringing the bag around to the front and things like that. I found that really annoying when I have to do it, so I avoid having to do as much as I can. So let's talk about what is in the bag then. So first off is a remote trigger. Again, this is a Sony remote trigger, the RMT VP1. It's a little infrared trigger. Goes on top and then connects into the USB connector in the side. I use this if I'm shooting long exposures, especially if I'm, at blue hour or late in the sunset or anything like that, or if I'm trying to capture some motion in the water in the ocean or something like that. I really like doing that, and of course you need to have a long exposure to do that, usually in the kind of the 1 to 2 second time frame. And I like using that over the 2 second timer on the camera, just because it allows me a little bit more flexibility. I'm not having to constantly futz with the camera and things like that. So I use that often. What else have I got in here? The Giotto Rocket Air little blaster. This is the mini one, so I can take that with me to clean the lens. Although, to be honest, I'm not the best at cleaning the lens. That's what spot removal is for in Photoshop, right? Let's see, next are some filters. I have a few things in here. I do have like the large Lee filter on camera kit. I can bring that with me if I want to, but those filters are really large, and then the filter holder is really large, and I tend to not like to futz with it, so I don't bring that with me. So I just have this little kit. I have, let's see, a circular polarizer. That's the first thing. And then I have a ND filter. This is an ND, let's see which one. This is an ND 64. And then I have, this is the ND 1000 then, right? Yep, ND 1000. So I bring those with me if I'm out and I want to slow down the exposure to a couple of seconds to get that motion on the water, and it's still too bright out to do that. So I'll use one of these filters if necessary. Or I can actually stack the two filters together and get a really long exposure if I want something in the like 5, 6, 7 minute time frame. And that gets some really kind of cool, motion and things like that in the water, and it really smooths everything out to get some really nice artistic effects. And then I also use filterings for these so that I can adapt them to each of my lenses, so I don't have to worry about bringing filter sizes for each of the different lenses, because the 16 to 35 millimeter and the 70 to 200 millimeter are 72 millimeter filters, and then the 24 to 70 here is a 67 millimeter filter. So just one ring adapter allows me to adapt this set of filters to each of those, and I don't have to worry about it. All right. So that's the filters here. Going in next, of course, got myself extra battery. Although, to be honest, now that Sony has gone to these much larger, what are these, the NPFZ100 batteries, I hardly ever run out of power. So I never really use that second one. I also have a little Think Tank SD card pack. So I carry a couple of those with me. Then I also have a few extra batteries for the remote, since that does go out on me from time to time. And then I always carry with me a little lens cleaning cloth, of course, and then various, these are little Zeiss lens cleaning wipes. These are really nice because it gets your lens clean again if I ever think about doing that. And then lastly, the thing I bring with me is just a little smartphone adapter for the tripod if I ever want to take pictures of myself taking pictures or something like that, if I'm vlogging or anything like that. All right, that's in the camera. And then the last thing, of course, is a tripod. I do have a nice Peak Design carbon tripod, but I found when I take that to the beach with me, I get sand in the clamps and it gets all crunchy, and it makes me very sad because it's a very expensive tripod. So I don't bring that with me very often and take it into the water. So this is a little Benro. See, this is the Benro TSL08A Slim aluminum tripod. It's small. It does sometimes get a little rickety if the water is really rushing and I'm in the water or the wind is blowing. So I got to be a little careful and make sure that I'm holding it tight so that it doesn't roll over. But it's really light, and and it only costs like $80, so I'm not super worried about this getting in the water and getting sand into the joints and things like that. So. All right, that is pretty much the gear that I bring with me and handles all of the situations. I don't really need for too many things when I'm out there. Pretty straightforward what I'm taking pictures of and the gear that I need to do that. So, all right, I hope that is interesting and useful for any of you. If you have any questions or anything like that, please drop a comment down below. If you like this video, go ahead and like it and subscribe if you feel like it. And I will catch all of you in the next video. Take care.